Warm welcome to you all. Um, Today we're going to hear three stories. Sudhir Banerjee, Rita, and of course we have Geetika Jain, all going to share their stories with us. I also wanted to tell you that this session is going to be, of course, led by no other than Dr. Peter Haduba, who is a neurosurgeon, but also a spiritual master. So it's a wonderful combination. And I'll hold all this stuff, till he comes in. And of course, we'll also share some material, some books he has authored as a takeaway for all of you. And of course, without ado, I just want to thank him. And of course, we'll invite him later once we finish with our participants. It's my pleasure to call Sudhir Banerjee. Now, interesting thing about him is that he is attending this session regularly. So welcome, Sudhir. You're attending this regularly from Bangalore. And you also remember that we used to do it at 9 o'clock in the morning, our time, which is 9:30. Even in the winter time, it was 10:30, I know, but now it's still 10:35 or past 10. It's 10:41. So that's quite a challenge, and you've always been through. I want to tell you, and I will tell the other participants that we are definitely going to do another set of program for people who are that part of the world, and we already have a initiative launched. So we'll tell you more about that. But so wonderful to have you, and I know there are some lifestyle practices you're going to share with us. So good to hear from you. Tell us a little bit about yourself and what brings you to crack the wellness code and the wellness support. Yeah.
No, thank you so much. And in fact, when Somya texted me that will you have time for this, I said absolutely yes, because I think the amount of network I could create by being part of these sessions has been immense. I have not physically met any one of you, but the kind of emotional connect which we could have established, I'm not sure whether it was designed that way, but while these sessions started is when we also entered into this pandemic era. And I think that some of the fundamental discussions which we have done, including some of the experts, doctors who have shared lots of insights. What I'm going to share in next 3-4 minutes is just an extract of what I did while I was going through these sessions. So virtually what I did, I made a commitment to myself that I will not get distracted by what's happening outside, because majority of that was looking completely out of control. And I brief about me. I had a business of ASEAN Born Brewery. It's a Sweden company, mainly in the power sector, plus a lot of robotics. So it's a hardcore heavy engineering group based out of Bangalore. I'm leading that group. But more than my official assignment, this is one assignment where I connect with at least 1,200 people directly under my focus. And my biggest issue was that how do I manage myself as a leader or a face of these 1,200 people in a positive way? And I think what happened is the whole support came from this group, which I'm so happy that I could share some of it. So, this whole topic is about emotional wellness. I will probably now zoom down into what happened with me. So when I entered into a few months of this pandemic and this whole COVID, the way it was, showing up in India, I said no. And again, I wasted a bunch of weeks in that where I would get concerned and emotionally shattered as to how do I handle it. But I then zero down into basic fundamentals. One is that area of influence and area of concern. In one of the sessions somewhere we discussed, and we do talk about it, but we don't practice it. So one thing which I have started doing and really it works is that whenever I get into any of these conversation on phone or in person or otherwise, I do select whether is it in my control or not in my control. If it is not in my control, let's not too much bother about it. But amongst those discussions, there's a bunch of things which are in your control. So one, I would say the big tip or a sharing of expertise will be that definitely for good emotional wellness, focus on what is in your control. Let's not bother about too many things because you may not be in a position to solve, particularly in this environment we are in. The second part, which was very important, is that what is in my control was my physical safety, or keep myself and my family, my near ones, my elders safe and away from this virus. So that whole discipline of how do I do it made me that at least I don't have something which I'm which is in my control, but I'm not handling it. But the third thing which really came up, which really helps us, is put a purpose in front of you. What am I doing? Is my job only to take care of my office and the assignment, or there's a bigger purpose to it? And I will share some demonstrated action what I did. So the purpose which came handy to me was that this whole chaos is just because we have not taken care of the environment and ourselves. And it's a very commonly talked about things, but what is in my control, I will share about what happened. And it has to be somehow tangible. You have to touch and feel. You have to celebrate success. We let's not put something which is so far flung that we can't even taste and feel good about it. So that is one which came up as the third point. Keep a very strong purpose in front of you, so that you don't get weathered away or distracted by some of these what is happening. But then comes the social connect. So whether it is WhatsApp, I'm not a very huge fan of texting and WhatsApp. I prefer to pick up a phone and have a chat for the person to whom I really worry. But then comes the whole piece of compassion, and I think we talked about in one of the sessions. So you'll be surprised what happened. I actually picked up who are the most vulnerable, set of people whom with I have used or worked. Maybe used is the wrong word, but I got connected. You'll be surprised. I picked up the plumber, picked up the carpenter, picked up the electrician, who I don't know how they are facing the crowd, how they are facing this pandemic. I'm still, well off. Still, I'm nervous. So whenever you connect with that social network, you get a huge amount of actions for you where you don't get bothered about what's going wrong. You get into the frame of what I can do, right? So that came up as the fourth or fifth key action which came up to me. But then somewhere I think we are getting too much obsessed by the technology. What I did is I little bit went backwards rather than looking at books on electronic media or a text. I went into the little bit physical world, and that gave me the basics back, which somewhere I had lost. Hmm? Uh, so on those pieces, one thing which really comes up is, can I really rebuild my journey? So what I did and my daughter did, we picked up lots of photographs we have taken. Otherwise, these are all in the digital way, to create a journey of my lifetime. And I could see my 45 years or 50 years of existence coming live. So somewhere you have to put a purpose as to what am I doing, why am I doing, and how I can contribute to a bigger world. So I took plunge or a promise to myself that I will going to reduce or recycle plastics. And what happened is, since I was under a lockdown environment, I converted my garden using all these bottles and the various plastic waste which would have gone bad. Second thing was, how do I really recycle water? So all these filters which we do, and again, I am propagating that in my society where I stay. Then this whole recycling the kitchen waste. Again, these are not rocket science. We all know about it. But the real fun of emotional wellness was in doing. When I use both my hands, and I'm later on I understood that when you use both your hands, your entire brain gets activated, right? So these are all small things, but then when you put commitment, you have to go in the market. So with that action, I went in front of the entire organization saying that this is what I have done. And the time I used was the World Environment Day recently. So I think with that, I'm going to stop.
Thank you, Sudhir. This was, as I said, a story that we would like to continue for sure. And hearing from you is going to be a very important part. And you talked about bonding and networking. We really want to make that a very, more deeper connection. You have already established some connection. We want to make it deeper and more impactful. I would just say we want to make it more deeper and impactful. So having said that, uh, would like to call uh, Rita, who's going to be talking next. I think all of them have their own story. And Rita, I mean, the question is, you yourself introducing yourself will be great. My only introduction to you is that we're absolutely grateful to people like yourselves who attend and try to take charge of your health. Since the wellness support group is something, we're a platform, right? And we create this platform for bonding and sharing and networking, where you learn from others or guest speakers, but our participants are very important to us, and that's what we increasingly recognize, and why we want to have and hear more from yourself, and not only the Crack the Wellness Board as a platform benefits, but the community benefits. So over to you.
Absolutely. Namaskar. So I was just saying, I have to first of all acknowledge and thank Sudhir for doing such a wonderful job. and sharing something which is so phenomenal, where he really dealt with COVID. My story is not that much different than most people who are probably watching. How I came about. You come to America way back in 70s looking for the glamour and looking for success and houses and whatever material world can give you. So having done that all and gone to college and done everything which you needed to do, there comes a point and you say, now what? And that point, I was very fortunate to meet my spiritual guru, which changed the course of my life totally. And um, and and then you're still in this world which you have to live and act, which you did. And so part of it was that you're getting up in age and you want to start taking care of your health, and the only thing you were given and you were available to you was these health clubs and personal trainers, and you go there just because socially it's accepted and you have to do it and you don't get anything out of it. And so that's where a friend of mine, a very dear friend of mine, Baljeet, I was complaining about health, and she said, well, you need to log on to this program by Dr. Sachin. And very reluctantly and cynically, I said, yeah, sure. And so I did. And my goodness, I mean, what a change that has made. I was looking for a combination of spirituality, Vedantic knowledge, and really in a search of it, which is where my emotional wellness always comes through, is learning a little more, which I should have learned earlier in life, and this was a wonderful combination. So he does a job with the exercises and yoga asanas, but it's more than that. It's spiritually connecting you. It's your body and your mental, and it's just given so much to me. And I really feel really loss of time for having missed earlier part of the WSG, what programs you guys give. And from there on, I attended all of your public speaking and your programs which you give on cancer, diabetes. So honestly, this program has changed the outlook of my life totally, and realized how much you guys are giving back. And in the COVID time, when you're searching and you're thinking, okay, life is what? And what do you need out of it? And you really, at this point, you want to give back. And this is a great platform. And that's where I think mentally I felt emotionally and mentally very, very strong. And I just want to shout out on the work which is done by all of you, and totally selfless love for well-being of everybody else. And that's what I got out of it.
Thank you so much. As I said, we'll still continue the discussion in the review session next time. But I want to also learn now as we hear part two and part three, because this is ongoing, right? Because we have this concept of health hero, and to put it very simply, a health hero is a person, she or he, who has either reversed a major illness or always been healthy and maintained that way. So a health hero truly is that person who continues to maintain that. It's not a question that I had some problem, I solved it, and let's celebrate, which is good. You should celebrate, but continue with that. So I'm sure the wellness support group is not just giving you one point solution, but a permanent solution, and empowering you in a manner that you take charge of your health. I mean, you may need doctors, you may need all the people that you need for health. They're always there, but then you are the you are the lead. So once you are empowered, so I'm sure while you have gained, we are happy to hear about it. I'm sure you're also empowered to drive your own health, right?
Absolutely, absolutely. And it's a belonging, and it's a family environment, and you start feeling that you know everybody well enough, and it's time to give back and what you know to share. And I think it's a wonderful, wonderful platform on that, and you're learning every day, and the programs are very empowering.
Thank you. and we'll continue to be associated with you and also gain from your wisdom and your participation. So thank you very much once again. And do join the review session next time, and we'll hear more anecdotes of your health experience and your health journey. Thank you.
Thank you.
So next we have Gitika, who is, of course, has a lot of empowerment done to herself through yoga and other practices. And she will also talk a little bit about that, which we might put it during the group discussion. But would absolutely be delighted to hear from you, Gitika, your experience with the wellness support group, your own feeling, because as a yoga practitioner, how emotional wellness resonates with you, right? And what are some of the things that you're looking for in this session, and what typical questions you have for Dr. Peter Haduba, who's going to come next after this, and hearing all of you. So over to you, Gitika.
Thank you so much, everyone. I'm so happy to be here today. And I wanted to thank many people who have helped make this day happen, all my teachers, and a special shout out to Dr. Sachin, who is always so generous with his time and his knowledge, and creates so much joy in the sessions that he leads. I wanted to just mention that the ICC is also a very wonderful, and it's an organization, and it's one that I've leaned on many times. And this last year, the pandemic has highlighted just how interrelated we all are and interdependent. And there's been so much wonderful work done by the ICC. So both, it's just a little moment to express gratitude for everything. Well, the senior program is wonderful at ICC, and I have sometimes been like a substitute teacher at the yoga classes, and it's been a really lovely way to meet our seniors and to actually, even though I go there as a teacher, I actually learn from our seniors because there is such a wealth of knowledge. So during the pandemic, I think I appreciated that ICC did so much to help with providing meals for seniors, and that has been something that I'm very grateful for. So on the topic of emotional well-being, I think the idea of gratitude is one which comes up as a really wonderful way for us to shift to a sense of being cognizant of, and also for acknowledging like the many influences and people and situations that have created today, this common meeting, this ability to interact with each other. So it's one of the things I've learned over my study of yoga, which is this idea that the more one stays in positive states of well-being, it creates better outcomes. And this can seem a little tautological, like, well, do you have to force yourself to be positive all the time, and this kind of forced positiveness and positivity, and that's not at all what is at stake here. And I try to remember the old the what we have been told by the early yogis about yoga being is the idea of the yoga chitta vritti nirodha. So that the fluctuations of the mind, which we can think of as sort of emotional disturbance in some sense, are calmed by yoga. And many of these beautiful analogies of a lake that will mirror a mountain. So this beautiful mirror lake, maybe you've seen one in Yosemite, can become disturbed when we have very strong emotions, and so we can no longer see clearly. So yoga has helped me a great deal with managing my emotional state, and with my emotional just gaining more balance. And so I know that I was given just a short time, and I'm happy to chat more later, but lots of gratitude to the teachers. Sachin, thank you for being always a very patient, a very kind, and a very sincere teacher for all of us, and for creating this group. I know many participants are from the yoga group. We've been practicing together. We've been, helping each other, and it's helped us go through some challenges, some ups and downs. So even when the world is full of agitation, like that storm that's going on in the lake, we can still be calm, and we can still feel many of the positive emotions. And I want to again just read from the Yoga Sutra again, this notion of what it takes to create cultivation of positive virtues. Maitri, Karuna, Mudita, Upekshanam, Sukha, Dukha, Punya, Apunya, Visayanam, Bhavanataha, Chitta Prasadanam. And I'm sure I didn't get my Sanskrit right, because I was not paying a lot of attention in class when I was taught Sanskrit in India. But this idea that we really want to be serene and benevolent, and that's just our goal, to be calm. And that's actually what embodies emotional wellness to me, to be calm. And regardless of what happens to the world. And of course, Sudhir talked about, what you can do to help the world become better. And Rita talked about her own experience of how she was motivated to take care of herself, and to do something for society. But this idea that we can actually cultivate positive well-being of this mind-body connection is a powerful one in yoga. And I just wanted to
Absolutely, absolutely. So, so two things. One, of course, is that we would like to hear from you any questions that you have for Master Peter Haruba, who's going to. I'm sure after you hear him, you may have some questions. So we'll invite you to put your questions in the question answer, or just speak out. That's one. The other is what does support, very quickly. I mean, since we have to move on very quickly, what does support group mean to you? I mean, yoga, of course, is practice, right? So you can have a support group for yoga and whatever. But in general, like the Sudhir very nicely mentioned that about connection, all that. So whatever you do, it could be a support group for diet, because we're going to start a support group on diet, one on sleep, right? So all these have very important, implications for your well-being, mind-body wellness. So typically, what does a support group mean to you? Very quickly, very short, in brief, few
You're
words.
asking me, yes?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yes. Well, to me, it's as it suggests, it's first of all, a group of like-minded people who have a common shared goal, and so that's important, because everybody has a common reason for being there, and it's about sharing with each other, and honestly, just even time, because we in Silicon Valley, time is such a it's such a scarce commodity. We have so many
Sharing precious time, right? Precious
yes,
time.
and care,
Yeah.
and really kind of trying to be generous with one's
Now that's very interesting, no, because you've been associated with so many activities, so it was good to hear from you on that. So thank you very much once again. I'm sure you'll have some questions for Dr. Peter Haruba if you listen to it. So once again, we'll continue our association with you, and good to have you. So moving forward, we would like to finally, invite and request Dr. Peter Haruba, who's based in Canada. And of course, he has been gracious to join us today. And he has been with before, earlier also for the session. Uh, last time when we had the emotional, he did a wonderful exposition on emotional wellness. And this year he's building further on it. So it's a great opportunity to hear him and also to learn from his wisdom, his practices. As you know, he's a neurosurgeon, but at the same time, he has looked at both Western and Eastern therapies, evidence-based, in a manner which is empowering and also in terms of enlightening. and also something that you can really take home and practice. So over to you, Master Peter Hilduar. And once again, it's a joy to see you, and I look forward to hearing. Yeah.
Yeah, thank you very much for having me. It's a great honor to be with all of you. So since first time we touched base, it was 2019 when we were starting to prepare this. And then when I came in person to discuss, meet you in Fremont, I was really impressed by the wonderful work you are doing for your community. Yeah, and then we had a presentation last October. So that was so wonderful. I really congratulate you for wonderful work you do for so many people. And thank you, these wonderful presenters in front of me. That was very nice to connect and hear something from you. As you mentioned, that we learn from each other, we share together, and this way we learn. And it's amazing how much wisdom is around the world between people. And then when we can put all of it together, everybody can benefit more and more. So please allow me to share something from what I learned. And I'm by no means an expert, but I have the personal experiences that are very, very, I would say, very beautiful. Um, I'm always eager to learn from anyone because there is no end to it. So I will speak a little bit about the wellness, and I start with the ancient motions. This is the from the Chinese culture. Even there are differences. There are many things common with what I learned in Veda or yoga when I practiced yoga in the past. So there are commonalities, and I hope that we can build on that. And so, according to Chinese Taoist wisdom, everything can be divided into yin and yang. So it means two opposites, positive and negative. Like every coin has a positive and negative, so that one side of the coin, another. We have these principles. We have a woman and a man, a wife and husband. We have a strength, we have a weakness, we have a cold, we have a heat, and so forth. So everything is as a yin and yang, and in that case, we always have to understand that nothing is without this. And our life also, we go from the positive experiences and we have unpleasant experiences also. And that's a part of the existence. The whole universe is like that. And we have a mood, we have emotions. And so some emotions are very healthy, but some emotions are not healthy at all. And we have to accept that it is in us, that we are both yin and yang. We have the positive, negative principle in us, unless we reach enlightenment, stop reincarnation, then it's a different story. But until we are there, we are, this is us, this is in us. We want it, we don't want it, that's how it is. And also the Chinese went even further. They understood that these can be broken down in the 5 stages or 5 elements, like wood, fire, earth, metal, and water. These are 5. You can consider them as a separate, like the wood feeds the fire, fire turns wood into ashes, they become earth. In the earth we dig the metal on the earth and metal there, water condensed and is carried on, and then water feeds the wood. So we need to understand actually it's not separate, but they are phases of the same thing. it's just endless circulation of the life, those five stages or five elements. We are just, sometimes we are in fiery state. The fire would be like excited, overly excited, or depressed, anxious, shaking with anxiety. The earth would be when we are worried, when we become worried, and then metal would be sadness, the water we would be fearful, and wood would be anger. So they have these five major emotions, but also there are positive emotions. The same as I said, there is a yin and yang. So every state, every of these five elements, it has a negative emotion and a positive. And that is the whole thing, what we need to do. If we do understand this, that we are like that we are sometimes angry, but sometimes we are patient, we come to terms with it. I mean, this is me. It's not good that I get angry, and I will work on it. So I am more patient rather than angry. And the practices are there which can do that. So if I can give any practical guidance right now is acceptance. This is who I am. I am in this state. Maybe I have an anxiety disorder, but if I have anxiety disorder, it doesn't mean that I cannot change it. I cannot transform it. And it can be done. It really can. So if we go back to these negative ones, let's say we have an anger. Now, how we can dissolve the anger? Then, well, we become more patient. And every time we would get the angry state, we are starting to be angry, I remind myself, okay, hold on. Be patient, please. Right now, practice patience. Practice. And, you know, we had in my country when we were young, count to 10. You are starting to be impatient, count to 10. When you want to say something because you are angry, count to 10. 1, 2, 3. There are many other ways. But we can do that. Every time we go to this negative emotion, count to 10. And rather than expressing the anger, we try to develop the opposite of it, which is patience. Now, the same thing is with anxiety and depression. It's a fire element. Opposite to it would be joy. Now, you know, it is, some people are ill, they have a deep depression, but it can be helped. There are techniques, there are relaxation techniques, meditation techniques. We recently finished a fantastic study in Germany. Last year, we did 22, this year we did additional 13, and we stopped study because it's no longer necessary. The more subjects didn't show better results. It's just we reached what we reached. But what we reached was absolutely stunning, that with the techniques which I show you, we were able to bring down the depression 60%, 59, 60%, which is shocking. It was really shocking to me. We do a research in very precise way, the same like we would do it in university. Instead of medication, we are using meditation. Not medication, but meditation. And it worked. It worked to my huge surprise that much, especially in COVID time when people are depressed. All of us are depressed. We just can't travel, cannot see our loved ones. And these depressed people, of course, they are challenged even more, but they didn't get worse. They got better by the practical techniques which we teach. So The element earth, there would be a lot of worry, but worry can be transformed by practicing love and compassion. Um, I can tell you, I was a doctor. I would worry about how my outcome would be. And I had a wonderful student. I was a chief of the program training neurosurgeons, and one of my best students, and become my personal friend, Dr. Venkat Sadananda. Venkat was a disciple of Sai Baba, very close actually. He was an interesting man. He studied with Sai Baba, but then he also for several months worked with Mother Teresa in her ashram. And he was very spiritual person. And once we were going to do surgery on the brain, and I told him I'm worried how this person is. And he shared with me when he was in India studying, he went to work with one neurosurgeon who was also student of Sai Baba. And he told me that neurosurgeon, I forgot his name, he would just pray before he start surgery. He would just offer his love, compassion to the suffering, and he did his invocation in such a way, expressing the love, compassion to the patient, and then started surgery. And Venkat told me that made all the difference. And so I tried it. I tried it, why not? I am a teacher, but I learn from my student. You know what? My worry went away. Once we express this love really to others and deeply feel for their plight, our worries about ourselves goes away or decrease markedly. So these are very simple techniques, but they actually work. We just need to train ourselves. And so the sadness is a metal, negative emotion, but the positive is a courage. And the same thing, we can be sad that there is a COVID, that there are many people are dying, but we put it aside, our worries, we have a courage to do something about it. And each of us can do. I was the whole year, yesterday I received an email. They want to buy me some gift. I was offering 4 times a week, initially, later, now only 2 times a week. I was teaching the medical doctors in the biggest hospital in British Columbia. I was teaching them Qigong. It's basically like a Chinese way of yoga. And I had a practice session with them 2 times a week. They liked it, so then it became 4 times a week. Now we again scale down because COVID no longer the big threat, 2 times a week. And so it was a great thing, to practice with them every day, almost every day, and keep them going. They were exhausted. I am doctor, I've seen my patients, to have the N95 mask for the whole day just ruins you. I mean, it's so difficult to breathe with it. And so then we would have in the morning, charge up with the energy and then go and do your heavy work. So rather than be worried or be sad, people are dying around you, you have a courage to do something about it. And you counteract that negative emotion with a positive one. And so then fear. The fear is the water element. And we fear, let's say, for the future, what it will be. When the pandemic was starting, we had no idea, are we going to get a vaccine in time and what will happen? But fear can be counteracted by calmness. And try to be calm, find solutions. And so another way is that these emotions have to be expressed freely. but not too much. We sometimes can be, of course, upset, but we don't need to pound the fist on the table and shout. One of the Taoist masters has described this principle. You be like a sea. You may have a storm hitting you on surface. There may be raging waves, but deep inside you are peaceful. And so we have to be balanced. We cannot suppress these things because then it becomes really unhealthy. Suppression doesn't help. We need to transform them. So feel free. I am sad today. I am really sad. But I will do something about it. I am courageous. I am going to help somebody. And my sadness is gone. I expressed it, I acknowledged it, but then I transform it. And also, none of these can be too excessive or too little. We need to have a healthy emotions, especially these positive ones. Just imagine the person who is like this, has anger, anxieties, worries, sadness, fear. What kind of person we can become when we transform it and we become patient, joyful, loving, compassionate to everyone. We have a courage to transform, to help others. And when there is a disaster, we just are calm. It's a very different way to exist. And with the techniques, practices which we do, it is possible. It is possible. So we reach that higher level of emotional well-being when we replace all our negative emotions with positive emotions. We still have emotions, but they are positive. We transform them. Imagine someone is calm, is loving, is compassionate to others, is a patient when people are acting up and showing their weaknesses. And it's full of joy. It's well, I can tell you, I used to be lots like this. I was one Northern American doctor, worried about litigations, sad when my patients didn't do well. I was fearing they will die. But I am becoming more like this. And the happiness that comes from this, to be in this state of existence, is just amazing. And so anybody can, if I did it, anybody can do it. So we need to understand these emotions, they impact, negative emotions do impact our physical health. High blood pressure, ulcers, stomach ulcers. And when we are angry, we suppress immune system, so we can easily get infections. And they are also draining us. So it's better just to stop it, to work on the emotions, because it just becomes too unpleasant in our life. And I will probably stop here. I know that you are connecting with Henderson, who offers some practical teachings, actually exercises. So I think he can fill the gap. We don't have much time that I will go through the whole thing and exercise with you for 15, 20 minutes. We don't have a time today. This was just, I offer you a very practical techniques that can be applied outside of meditation. These 5 techniques I showed you, you can do anytime, anywhere. Let's do the how we can do that very briefly. Each of the elements has the sound which we can practice. It's actually very amazing that these sounds can do such a change. So for wood, we have a sound shu. For fire, we have sound ah. For earth, we have a sound hu. For metal, we have sound s. And for water, we have a sound shui. So, for example, if we have a depression anxiety, we can work with the sound ah. What we do, we just put one palm on the lower abdomen and one palm in the middle of the chest, in the middle of the chest, or on the heart, because the heart is the organ for element fire, and the emotions of element fire is uh, the depression, anxiety. So you have anxiety, depression. They just put the hands like lower abdomen and the right palm on the heart. Focus on your heart and imagine that it's filled with beautiful light, golden light, red light, and just continue, repeat sound This way, when you continuously repeat it, the anxiety and depression start to slowly transform. Of course, you need to continue. If the people are ill, they have anxiety, depression, they need to take medication and continue them until things completely transform. So don't stop medication and just do this. That would be a big mistake. So
Dr. Peter Haduba, there are two questions.
Ah.
One definitely related. Of course, people are so absorbed hearing you that they thought, let's first hear you and then ask the question. So let me, very good questions, the first one is, Dr. Peter Haduba, can you please explain how to use your techniques to heal guilt?
Guilt.
Yeah.
Guilt is an element metal together with sadness. The guilt and sadness, they go together. So we would go to element metal. There is a sound S. So put your left palm on your lower abdomen. Put your right palm on, let's say here in the chest, on the lungs, top of the lungs, both lungs, and tell yourself, my element metal, my guilt, my my sadness about whatever happened, transform yourself to the courage. Just transform. And then you will do a S, and imagine that you have a beautiful light filling your lungs. But you give yourself, my sadness, my guilt, transform to the courage. And just do it. S, S, S. And it takes time, but eventually this can get transformed.
More questions pouring in. So let's take this one. If the emotions are not listed in the table that Dr. Peter shared, then what would be a way to find which emotion is related to which element? For example, for guilt, Dr. Peter said it's the lungs, but that was not on the slide he showed. Thank you so much. So he's saying that there is more to the five, mantras that you have shared. So how do people, unravel the mystery? So people are, if one wants to unravel the mystery of, all these negative emotions, how do they do that? That's one question. And I'm combining that question with another question just to manage the time. Can you please share as to how transformation of emotions from positive to negative can help in overall well-being? So if you can just combine these two questions. And while saying so, I would also remind that in the chat box, we have put the links to your wonderful gift, some of the books that you wanted to share with those who want to really go further and practice and learn more. Because obviously in a short session like this, you cannot give away everything. But these are very, very, practical lessons that you can get from these books. And one of them is a recent one So it was put in the chat box by Soumya, and she's done it once again. So, that's definitely one of the takeaway gifts that you can consider if you want to go deeper, everybody. That's there. And now, of course, we wrap up the session by your answer to those two questions, Dr. Hat.
Yeah. The first one, the Master Shah wrote this book. It came out 2013, Soul Healing Miracles. And he described very in great details the elements and the emotions. So you can find it there. The second question is how it affects the health, or emotions do affect health very, very strongly. People who are angry, they have a high blood pressure. When someone becomes angry, what happens is that the catecholamines, adrenaline, noradrenaline, just goes into the blood system and makes the heart pounding. People shout, and then what they increase the heart rate, the adrenaline just keeps pushing the heart, beating very quick. And what happens is the high blood pressure goes up, and people can die suddenly with high blood pressure. Artery can rupture in the brain, or they get a heart attack. It's, the emotions really can damage health in so many different ways. The people who are worried a lot, they have often stomach ulcers or duodenal ulcers. Yeah. And worry actually belongs to the element earth, stomach and spleen. Yeah, so it really goes together. That traditional Chinese doctors, Taoists, for thousands of years, they were observing people and found that these elements work together, and what belongs where, and that's where the knowledge comes from. So if people are really worried a lot, they have stomach ulcer or the duodenal ulcer. And we need to work on those emotions so we actually keep our body healthy. Thank you very much for inviting me.
Dr. Peter, this was wonderful session. So having said that, once again, a big thank you to you, Dr. Peter Hadova. And we like to have you again, once again with us, and you continue with your association with us. And yeah, so thanks to all participants, all the three, panelists today who spoke so, passionately, with so much of conviction and so much of warm message to all of us. Thanks to all three of you and everybody, and see you again for the next wellness session.